C724, Information Systems Management. Let's talk about it.
Dear me, 3 to 6 months. Watch how I make you proud.
Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Xavier. This is Tech Xavier, and on this channel, I share my journey in tech. I am a WGU graduate, and I have my degree now in my... Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Xavier. This is Tech Xavier, where I share my journey in tech, both on the education side and the career side. I am a recent graduate of WGU, and I earned my degree in IT management. And with the help of the internet, my enrollment counselor, my program mentor, and just my eagerness to finish, I was able to accelerate in the program, having started in November 2022 and completing my last course on February 16th, 2023. In today's video, I'm going to discuss information systems management, that is C724, and we're going to go over the course requirements, why is it significant to IT, and ultimately, how do you pass? So with all that out the way, let's begin today's video. So the information systems management course is a 3-unit course, and this was the second course that I took as part of my degree program. So what is information systems management? Information systems basically take information or data from various places and create a system that relies on a network, maybe some hardware, maybe a database, and other components to make it all come together. And a majority of us have encountered information systems in one way or the other. If you work at a job, if you go to school, anything which manages your data on a database and shares it with other people or helps you make decisions about things based on that data is an information system. And in organizations, especially if you work in information technology, you have an IT department that manages these systems and provides support. Now, the second question you may be asking is, why is this relevant to IT management? It's a pretty straightforward kind of connection, but nonetheless, if you think about it, anything you do in IT is managing a system. And that system can be like a VPN network. It can be a database that was created by the company. It can be a ticketing system. It can be any number of things that you administrate, that you implement, that you develop. And when you're developing these things, or when you're administrating them or implementing them, you're going to make sure that, number one, is this going to meet the needs of the user? Number two, is this alignment with the overall objectives of the organization? And thirdly, and probably most importantly, is it secure? Okay, so now that we've covered all of that information, let's go ahead and hop on over to the course homepage, and we'll see everything that is offered by WGU. Here we have the course homepage, and you know we're here because you can see information systems management. It'll show you right away what date you started it. So I started this course on the 15th, and then you have an overview of the course. You have the competencies here. You have the course planning tool, the learning information, which includes the course material. And then you also have information about the instructor. So you'll have the instructor's email, their contact information, and office hours. You have an announcements area, and this is updated pretty regularly. So this was last updated on February 10th. And on the time of this recording, it is currently February 23rd. You'll see announcements related to the course. Maybe things were moved around. And then lastly, the course tips generally contains information about the course resource page and other videos and things like that that are helpful for students. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out the course tips, and we're going to look at the course resource page first. When you click on the course tips, you'll see a page pop up like this, and then they'll have various links. So they have the recommended resources here, so you can click on here for that. There's a welcome video, course instructor appointment, and then drop in study hall sessions, which could be useful as well. And let's go ahead and click on the C724 Information Systems Management and Resource page. Okay, so here we are at the course resource page. And just a quick heads up, this may look different from other courses that you've taken because WGU, with some courses, hosts their course resources on a Salesforce page. It looks a little different. And then other times they host it in a SharePoint environment, which looks like this. We have the welcome video here. We have the study guide, C724 recordings, the learning resources, and then the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, and then this is the actual kind of pacing guide. This is probably the document you want to look for when you go through the resources thumbnail or the resources icon on the homepage. And as you're looking at this, they have quite a few different topics. So you have the welcome, you have how to navigate. So there's a navigation center, course completion guide, and these are some things they recommend. And then there's just a suggested pacing down here. So with the pacing, one thing that you may want to consider is that instead of saying that I'm going to dedicate a whole week towards a specific topic, you might want to dedicate a day to the welcome video and unit 2, another day towards unit 3. You can break it up so that you can get through it as quickly as possible. And this guide is great for pacing yourself and making sure that you understand some of the core concepts for each of these units. Now, in terms of additional resources, the first one I like is Quizlet. So here we are at the Quizlet website, and I'll provide a link for this below as well. But Quizlet is a great tool if you want to have a more enhanced learning experience. You can create study sets, quizzes, matching games, all kind of stuff. The free version is a little limited and it's tons of ads all over the place. But if you get the pro version, it's not too expensive, and you can use this to enhance your learning if you like flashcards and those kind of things. My second favorite resource is Reddit, and Reddit is really awesome. You have people who have posted things years back, but it's still relevant now because honestly, WGU hasn't changed a whole lot in some of the fundamental areas. So you can use this as well. I'll post a link to this particular thread for you, and you can peruse it and see what helps you in terms of your strategy. Okay, so now that we've explored all the materials and now that we're a little bit more familiar with what information systems management is, let's go ahead and prepare you now for the objective assessment. So step number 1 for preparing for the objective assessment is by scheduling the objective assessment. In my opinion, giving yourself a little push by giving yourself a deadline to meet to get all your studying done really helps with accelerating and getting through the course as quickly as possible. Okay, so the next thing, once you've scheduled your exam, next thing we're going to do is go to the course planning tool. This basically helps you create a personalized approach to your studying. It asks you some very high level questions, but then it also asks you how familiar you are with the concepts at the core of those questions. So you can say either I'm not familiar at all, I'm somewhat familiar, or I am really familiar. I use this all the time in my work. And next thing you'll do after you finish the course planning tool, you're going to take the pre-assessment. So take the pre-assessment the first time. At this point, you haven't done any real reading or anything. Maybe you're coming with some prior knowledge and you want to see how they're going to word questions on the exam. This is a great first step because it'll give you some exposure to learning how to think about answering the questions. And a lot of times when we get the questions wrong, it's just because we didn't read it clearly enough. And since this course is actually showing my pre-assessment results, I want to show you this real quick. When you're taking your pre-assessment, each of these sections has a various weight to them. So you can see that some things are worth 16%, some 13, 14, but nonetheless, it's good to focus on the areas that have the highest weight first, because if you can get exemplary or competent in those areas, it can definitely help you approach competency when you're taking the objective assessment. Okay, so now that we've gone through these assessments the first time, we're going to go into the actual course material and we're going to do some priming and then take some more tests. So let's go ahead and click on course material here. And it's going to take us to the home page. Okay, so now that we're in the textbook, what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called priming. And what I like to do is for all of the relevant units, so like unit 2 through unit 8, you're going to do what's called priming. And what that involves is basically looking at the headers or the table of contents and trying to think about what's going to be asked in the specific unit down to the module and even the lessons contained in the module. And when you do this, it'll activate your mind to thinking about what to focus on. So what I like to do is I'll look at unit 2 and it says Information Systems Foundation. So this is just telling me these are probably going to be the basics of information system. Here's an intro, not too much I can infer from that. But if I look at module 1, it says Managing Information Systems and Business Functions. So I know that part of this process is management, and that would be in the hands of the manager or the IT department so that it can support various business functions. And if I expand module 1, I can see the learning objectives here, and I can see basically if there's any quizzes that I can take. Usually though, when the first time you're in this course, you'll have to actually get into the unit or the module to actually see the end of module quiz. I can't remember if these quizzes have 3 different versions or not, but nonetheless, you can take the quiz until you score a really high score. I try to aim for 100%. Yeah, it's a little memorization, but to me, it helps things stick. So you'll go through this information, and as you look at the learning objectives, you're going to go ahead and, again, do some priming here as well. You're just going to read the learning objectives and think about what this means to you. Now, in order to avoid doing as much reading as possible or too much double work, the next thing I usually do is I'll go into the quiz and take the quiz. Once you take the quiz, you'll get exposure to how questions are worded. Some things may be similar to the pre-assessment, some things may not be. You'll take the quiz, try to achieve 100%. And then from there, you can go down to the knowledge checks. So there are some knowledge checks that the module has. And basically those knowledge checks are, it's like a paragraph of information from the text. And then there's some quick like questions you have to answer. And the system will verify whether or not the questions are correct or not. And you can just go through it that way. I personally like that because, again, you can use process of elimination, just use some reasoning skills to determine what is the correct answer and why. After that, if you still want to go through the text, by all means, you can read through the text, read through the paragraphs, highlight things, take key terms down if you like. But this process works for me. Also, I forgot to mention, each unit has a unit exam. So you can go through the unit exam, take the questions, and I believe there may be multiple versions. And if so, do all multiple versions, try to score 100%, and that will just reinforce your learning for that particular unit. Okay, so the last thing you're going to do before you take your objective assessment is just take the pre-assessment again. By the time you've exposed yourself to all of the various resources, you've gone through all the module quizzes, all the learning checks, you've primed yourself, and you have taken the unit exams, by that time, you should feel a lot better about the pre-assessment. The concepts should be a little bit more ingrained, and now you can go ahead and jump into the pre-assessment once more, and you want to take it until you can get a passing score. Once you've gotten a passing score, I would go ahead and try to schedule the objective assessment sooner if you finish through all these activities sooner, and just take it while it's fresh in your mind. I can't remember the similarity between the 2 exams, but needless to say, I was able to pass it on my first attempt, which means that it wasn't terribly difficult like some other courses that I've taken. So with that said, that's the approach. And I think this will be the quickest way, in my opinion, to get through everything without having to do flashcards or read the text. This should give you enough exposure to how the quizzes and exams are laid out. So that way you have experience with answering questions and not getting tripped up by really long paragraphs of written words, which WGU is really guilty of doing. You'll see a whole block of paragraph text as a question, and you got to filter down to see what's the most relevant piece of information in that question. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate the support. I hope that this was helpful for you. Hopefully you can get through this course as quickly as possible. In some instances, there are courses I've completed in a week. Some of them I've completed in 2 weeks. So it just really depends on how fast you're prepared to go through the work and how much time you have to commit to it. But that said, good luck, and just remember, school is going to be difficult sometimes. So you just want to make sure that you're not being hard on yourself, but you're working hard on yourself. You're working on the things that are more in alignment with your systems, with your habits, the things that you can actually control. And then you just kind of see what the outcomes are and go back in at it again. So thank you for watching. Hope this is helpful again, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.
Dear me, 3 to 6 months. Watch how I make you proud.